Shalom, shalom. Before I get this lesson started, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakodash, and I want to give double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, of whom I learned from, and a shalom to the whole elect brothers taking this truth to the four corners of the earth, bidding the elect of Yasharallah to the marriage supper of the Lamb, who is Yahweh Shai. This is your brother Radah with a really quick lesson, just on some of the stuff that's going on the earth, man, how we are entering into prophecy. Before I let this guy play, let's. Good morning. This is what he's talking about. Look.
The BRICS countries are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And this organization now has another dozen countries that are either in or on the way. And a major draw for countries who join with the BRICS is their development of a new global trading system, which is completely independent of the U.S.-led system based on U.S. dollar trading and the SWIFT bank system.
And that is going to cause, all of that is going to help cause what prophecy has already said is going to happen. America is Mystery Babylon the Great. It's also likened unto Sodom and Gomorrah and Egypt. It's all of those spiritually in prophecy. So here you got Isaiah 19 verses 14 and 15. Yahweh hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt, something about America, to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. Because it is now time for Esau in America to be brought down. This is why all this stuff is happening. We're getting closer to Yahweh Shabbat, which is the second death, the final, the capstone, or the most peak part of the judgments that were coming. We have Jacob's trouble on its way, which is going to be in this famine. We have the mark of the beast, the MOTV, right? Because the digital currency is going to lead to that, and then all this famine and chaos and civil war and just insanity is going to break out. Everything that's written in Second Esdras. Okay, so verse 15, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or the tail, branch or rush may do. Now, if you go into this, this is Isaiah 15, right? You pull up the word work, and it's Strong's 4639.
Strong's H 4639. Maasai.
And the definition is deed, work. Deed, thing done. Act, work, labor, business, pursuit. See, all this is going to go away. Undertaking, enterprise, achievement, deeds, works of deliverance and judgment, works, things made, work of God, product. Look at all this down here on the bottom. An action, good or bad, generally a transaction, abstractly activity, by implication a product, specifically a poem, or generally property, like your housing market. Everything's going to be affected. Act, art, bake meat, business, deed or doing, labor, things made, ware of making, occupation, thing offered, operation, possession. So this is going into all levels of productivity, transaction, the food chain supply. Every type of supply is going to be affected as a direct result of this, okay? So when you go further into prophecy, Ecclesiastes 12:4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. Everything's going to shut down, you guys. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. And Revelation 6:5, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. This goes into famine. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. Verse 6, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. I'm going to let this video play. Salakia. It does that.
Democrats.
Pull out. Salakia for that. Hold on.
Good morning. The BRICS countries are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And this organization now has another dozen countries that are either in or on the way. And a major draw for countries who join with the BRICS is their development of a new global trading system, which is completely independent of the U.S.-led system based on U.S. dollar trading and the SWIFT bank system. The system that we use in Western countries, that one which is trade denominated by U.S. dollars and executed by Western banks, that has obvious advantages to us and obvious disadvantages to everyone else. If we're honest with ourselves, there is no logical reason why a farmer in Brazil who's selling soybeans to China should use an American bank or the exchange in Chicago to make the deal happen, or need U.S. dollars to do so. U.S. banks would be paid to convert Chinese renminbi to U.S. dollars, then charge Brazil for exchanging USD to real. It's slow, it's expensive, and that is the system up to now. And that system is going away. There is another feature of this arrangement that's also very advantageous to operators inside the system, which is price discovery. Decision makers across the world can see markets. We can see that China just bought 1 million tons of soybeans from Brazil because our people executed the trade. We can see the contracts because we created the contracts and put them on our own exchanges. We can see the prices, which are being updated in real time on our screens. Now, China, Brazil, and the other BRICS have the technology to build their own system, buying and selling directly, without U.S. dollars, without Western banks, and without going through commodities traders and going through exchanges in Chicago. So as all this business and this global trade moves toward the new BRICS trading systems and out of ours, we don't see the prices anymore. We don't see the real global demand. We don't know where the supply is coming from to satisfy the demand. We are flying blind because the information feedback loops that we build into our systems, those are gone. And this transformation of global trade to a non-US dollar denominated system outside SWIFT and with immediate settlement, this is going to hurt all of our producers in the extractive and agricultural industries first.
And this is all prophecy because we know that any time in the past when a country's leader that was not American, was not an Edomite, would try to move off of the petrodollar and go onto the gold system, the gold standard, what would happen? All of a sudden, America would start demonizing that guy in the American media, start accusing him of doing things he wasn't doing, while we were all drunk, including myself. And when I say drunk, I mean drunk like not necessarily on actual beer or wine, drunk on the philosophies of America and the vibration of what was coming through the media. Because I just woke up 4 years ago. I'm still new in all this. So I remember very much, you're chasing the dollar, trying to make that money, going to work, trying to make sales. And then on the weekends, you're partying, you're at the club chasing females and just watching television, watching movies and lusting and desiring to be like everybody you saw on TV. Everybody was obsessed. People still are today, but pre-COVID, it was out of fucking control, man. And a lot of people have sobered up, so to speak, because of COVID and with everything happening. And America today is not the America it was before 2019. Okay, and so now we're seeing all this stuff happen, right? And now everything's about to, now we understand prophecy, and prophecy said this is going to happen.
Oil companies, miners, and farmers. Every planting season, each spring, farmers across the world play the oldest and biggest poker game. They determine what they should plant that is going to bring in the most revenues come harvest time. To do that, they need to make a series of well-educated guesses with respect to their own costs, what other farmers around the world may be doing, and they need to have a good feel for what global demand is going to be. Farmers in North America and Europe spend a lot of money for professional advice and for the best information as to what is happening right now. And then they watch the futures markets very carefully for any news that's going to impact the prices of what they have growing in their fields. And we know what's been happening to their input costs. They're going up by a lot. Across the board, everything costs more on the farm. So it becomes crucially important to get the rest of the forecast right, because they're already operating on thin margins. This is a strong analysis, and we'll begin with their conclusion. 2019 was the first time that the United States had a trade deficit in agriculture. Since then, we've run big trade deficits in agriculture for 4 out of 6 years, and this year we will hit a record. What has always been true, that the United States is the breadbasket to Europe and to big chunks of the Northern Hemisphere. American farmers can feed the world, they say. Now we can't feed ourselves. We're importing more than we're exporting. That's what a trade deficit is. Here's the chart. The blue line is U.S. agricultural exports running above the orange import line forever. They crossed 5 years ago, and now they're diverging fast. The analysis from the American Farm Bureau Federation, they are worried. Commodity prices are falling for U.S. corn and soybeans, down 30% in 12 in just 1 year, but exports have not risen. You would expect that falling prices would stimulate global demand, but not this time. China is buying more from Brazil, and so U.S. farmers are sending their surpluses to Mexico, which is the top export destination for the first time ever. Earlier this year, China set off alarm bells when they canceled huge wheat orders from the U.S. and from Australia. We did a piece on it here and said that this was just the start of things to come. China canceled 240,000 tons of U.S. soft red, then came back the following Friday, canceled 264,000 tons. China called up Australia and canceled 1 million tons from there. The cancellation was the biggest ever, and Bloomberg tells us the obvious, that China found cheaper wheat from somewhere else. Ben Buckner is the chief grains analyst for a company in Chicago. Chicago is where our biggest agricultural exchanges are. We spend a lot of money for Bloomberg to tell us what's going on, but they don't know either, where China bought 1.5 million tons of wheat to replace their canceled buys from the U.S. and from Australia. They don't know, and so neither do the farmers who rely on Chicago grains analysts or on Bloomberg to tell them what's going on. I mean here that the farmers in the United States and Australia planted 1.5 million tons of wheat, and then China canceled them. But nobody knows who filled that demand. Was it more productive farms in China? Was it Russia? Was it Brazil outside of our trading systems? Our people don't know. And it wasn't just wheat. Corn inventories were up 13%, soybeans by 9%. Behind wheat, which was at 16. These increases millions and millions of tons of farm product, and the buyers are gone, and nobody knows why. Here are the prices paid for Chinese corn and wheat, hitting multi-year lows. So they are getting their demand filled from somewhere. We just don't know where. We look back now and have learned that the demand was met by a combination of all three, actually. China had a near record harvest. Russia and Brazil stepped up their exports, but it was outside our system. We only learned about it later. And it was obviously at lower prices than they were getting from the U.S. and Australia, or they wouldn't have canceled the trades, and we wouldn't see the prices heading lower. Bloomberg is scrambling and trying to figure out things. Here in this one, they notice that China's imports of both wheat and corn are in a steady decline. When this article was published, the USDA was still forecasting big Chinese imports from the U.S., but if those imports go down, a big demand driver just disappears. This is one of the biggest stories in the world, and nobody is talking about it and what it means for our companies in a nuts and bolts way, trying to do business in the real world when we don't know what the prices are anymore.
Famine is coming to America. It's coming to the whole planet, but it is coming to America.
The BRICS countries are doing giant volumes of business now, outside of our systems and outside the dollar. This is $1 billion problem for a Chicago bank that makes risk-free profits every year just processing trades. But for tens of thousands of farmers outside Chicago, it's $1 million problem. They planted wheat that there are no buyers for, and they don't know why. But this is why. For 100 years, we've had a system that the world had to use because the technology wasn't there to do it any other way.
For 100 years, we have had a system that the world had to use. And that system was implemented after they dropped a bomb on Hiroshima in front of everybody. That's exactly the reason why they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, to put everyone into fear. And no one had nuclear weapons at that time, and they forced everyone to do business with the petrodollar, which means they were getting paid 2 and 3 times off of all kinds of transactions, especially with oil. Esau is fucking wicked, man. And now they're crying, oh, woe is me. But what people don't understand is how wicked this man has been, not only to the Israelites here in America, but to the other nations all around the world. And now it's time to pay the piper.
Now the technology is here. Distributed ledgers, central bank digital currencies, immediate cross-border settlements at zero cost. It's here. The BRICS countries are building a new system and are almost finished. And that means that our system is almost finished too. This is Liaoning.
That last part, this means our system is almost finished too, but not in a good way. I'm going to play one more video, just some other stuff.
If you think Trump is going to deport 20 million undocumented migrant workers, you'd be incorrect. It's going to be a lot worse than that. He's not going to deport them, because that would just simply...
So this type of shit right here that this guy's going to explain is going to go into your race wars, which is also going to fuel the civil wars. Esau against Esau, and then Esau against Jacob. Esau against Jacob, and also Esau against Esau. This is gonna, and I'm gonna pull those precepts, and then we'll be done.
The economy. Undocumented migrant workers make up a buttload of the agricultural workforce in America.
And the Northern Kingdom Israelites that make up that workforce, right? That money that they generate, it directly impacts other Edomites because the people they work for are fucking Edomites. And these Edomites are seeing what's going to happen. And so they're going to fucking get mad at Trump because basically those Edomites can't have what they have without the Northern Kingdom working for them. See how everything's connected in this system? And so as Trump goes to oppress the Northern Kingdom, which then eventually will also lead to him oppressing the Southern Kingdom, the so-called Negroes, the money and the livelihood that the Edomites make because of the Northern Kingdom is going to directly affect those Edomites, which is it's going to end up making those Edomites want to fight the other Edomites that are higher up. And I'm going to pull that precept.
Completely cripple that. What he's going to do is he's going to incarcerate them, shove them in private prisons, and then use the 13th Amendment to put them to slave labor.
So he just admitted that that's what the fucking 13th Amendment was always about. The 13th Amendment, they never freed us. You know, white people say, oh, you've been free for 100 years. Slavery was 150 years ago. No, the 13th Amendment just took us from the field to the prison industrial complex. And now he's admitting that from what they did to us 100 years ago, 150 years ago, that they're going to use that same amendment to do that to the Northern Kingdom right now.
That's it. There's a reason that the stock prices of private prisons completely skyrocketed once Trump was re-elected again. Just think about it.
So you got all the Edomites on the top that have the inside scoop. They understand what's about to happen. They just purchase a whole bunch of fucking stock in all the prison systems. So which shows you that Esau is not going to ever repent. He's always going to be oppressive man. I'm going to let this video just play one more through without interrupting it. But this just shows you what and who this man is.
If you think Trump is going to deport 20 million undocumented migrant workers, you'd be incorrect. It's going to be a lot worse than that. He's not going to deport them because that would just simply tank the economy. Undocumented migrant workers make up a buttload of the agricultural workforce in America. So it would completely cripple that. What he's going to do is he's going to incarcerate them, shove them in private prisons, and then use the 13th Amendment to put them to slave labor. That's it. There's a reason that the stock prices of private prisons completely skyrocketed once Trump was re-elected again. Just think about it.
The very smart people you are to be asking the question of why would they do something as insane as self-ruinous as mass deportations if it would crash the economy? Well, I will tell you exactly why. Over the next 1 minute, 50 seconds, 2 minutes, 10 seconds or so, you'll live, I promise. And all we have to do is look back to the past, so let's do it. So, 1944, we're going to go to Germany. And at this time, 1/4 of all of the people who are in the labor force are slaves. They are Jews, they are Roma, they are PWs. Anybody who Nazi Germany needs to not have rights, they are working to death under threat of gunpoint. And what are they doing? They're making munitions, they're making ammo, they're making weapons, they're making armored cars, they're making clothes. Things that...
And just a correction on what he said, the quote-unquote people who claim to be Jews, who were told to the world that were Jews in 1948, are in fact the Amalekites. They are Amalek, the head tribe of the Edomites. They are in fact the same as white people are in America. They fulfill the prophecy of the controversy of Zion, stealing our heritage, posing as us, the Southern Kingdom, claiming to be Judah when they're not. But they're in fact just as white as this dude is, and the other guy that just spoke. Edomite. They're Edomites.
On the front lines who are fighting World War II for the German government need. And in that same year, guess what happens? There is an event called the Wannsee Conference, and at that conference, the German government decides to meet, a bunch of high officials do, and they are trying to come up with an answer of what do we do with all these fucking enslaved people that we have, and the answer they come to is we should murder all of them. Now, you might have some alarm bells going off of like, that doesn't make sense, like it's free labor and it's like doing important things for the war. Why would they do that? Because when you have built a nation state on top of an ideology that constantly demonizes other people and says it's all the fault of marginalized people forever, don't look around, don't look at how much myself in the high government and my friends incorporate.
Which is what Esau has done with the so-called black, Latino, and Native Americans since we can even remember. So he's being very general in his description. Right? He's using World War II, 1948, like it was some major thing. The truth is, his people, this fucker right here, he looks like he's an Amalekite himself. They've been doing this to us since the revival of the Roman Empire, and they've been doing it. They've been doing it since 70 AD. So
are fleecing your pockets. It's never our fault. It's always your neighbors who are different than you. It's always your neighbors who have different religion, who look different than you. Eventually, you're going to pay up, because as the contradictions of that system you have built become very apparent to the people who you said were in the in-group but aren't seeing any benefits, people are going to start getting antsy, and you're going to have to start giving them answers to the question.
And this is where the Civil War starts and the race war, and we're going to get that precept. Second Ezra, and I'll be done. They shall not regard their princes. They shall not regard the princes. And this is what this is going into. This is going to lead up to all of this. Edomites are going to see that Trump and the Edomites that are like Trump are fucking lying, that they're getting all the money, and the Edomites on the bottom aren't getting shit. They're going to get pissed off and start fighting. So 2 Ezra 15:16, for there shall be seditions among men. Why? Because of everything that guy was explaining, and evading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor their princes. They shall not regard Trump or Kamala, no matter who's in there. It's going to get to the point where everybody's freaking out, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to. There goes your martial law. There goes your 15-minute cities. There goes your restriction of movement. It's already been written in Scripture, man, in prophecy. Verse 18, for because of the pride, and the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. There's not going to be no bartering system. The Spirit's going to be released where everyone's going to turn on themselves. If you're not one of the elect, everyone's going to be subject to this type of judgment. But they shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods. Everyone's going to be attacking everybody for food, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Okay, so this is what's coming. This is what's going to come to the earth. This is what's happening, and I pray that this lesson was edifying. Just wanted to be a really quick one. I want to give all praises and honor to glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, of whom I learned from, and shalom to the brothers, to the elect men who take this true to the four corners of the earth, bidding the elect of Yasharallah to the marriage supper of the Lamb, who is Yahweh Shai. This is your brother Radah. Shalom.